Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome to day 2 of the madness. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Paulie Howard. We are live in downtown Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. All college basketball throughout the next 3 hours. We have a couple of games tipping off. One of which should be pretty soon. The other one with Miami and Tennessee in about 25, 30 minutes from right now. We'll take you through the live betting of those two games throughout their entireties. Also on the program, Greg Peterson in 90 minutes. His look at tonight's games, Saturday's action as well. And Richie Baccellieri will join the program, longtime Vegas odds maker. And we'll get his thoughts as well. And I think numbers for Sunday's games will pop out as well, talking about Saturday and Sunday on top of that. So thanks for joining us here today. Games in action right now. Virginia, it's official. They just defeated Wright State. And boy, that was nip and tuck the entire way. They pulled away a little bit. They didn't cover. They were never a threat to cover the number today. But they did win 82-73, Paulie. First win since when?
They won the title in 2019.
Ooh.
That's a misleading score.
Yes, it is.
They were trailing late. They started the second half 5 of 6 from 3. So they had to be phenomenal down the stretch to get the win. The Raiders were game. They were fantastic. First half money line cashes plus 650. Tough one for Wright State. And they were in it. So that's a misleading score, much like Akron and Texas Tech, as that was a 4-point game with 6 minutes left, and then everything went Tech's way the rest of the game.
Yeah, throughout that game, Texas Tech would get it up to like 10, 11, 12, and then right away before you could blink, it'd be Akron with a mini run to cut it down to like 7, 6, 5 in that neighborhood, and then Texas Tech would make it another run. But they eventually covered. And by the way, the money on Akron in that game brought it all the way down to like 6.5 in favor of Texas Tech in that game. Two other games that we have right now. Alabama down by 5. This is has been no fluke so far. And we are right now the biggest sports book in the world behind me. It is absolutely packed. And it is a very pro-Hofstra crowd today. I don't know if that was just for the first to 10 and the first to 15. I don't know, maybe that was a first half bet by the crowd, full game, whatever it is. I'm guessing it was full game because the number came down as well. But Hofstra's leading 30-25 right now with about 3:11 to play in the first half. Bama money line just went from about $1.80 to minus 245, and the total is 151.5.
Good observation by you before the show. If you bet the game at FanDuel or Bet365, you're already paid out on the dog. Hofstra plus 540 cashes. They had a 10-point lead. And that also happened in the Siena game, which I forgot about yesterday, 55-1. So that anytime a team goes up 10, if you bet the money line, they pay you out right then and there. That's something.
And I'm going to say this right now, hoping that I jinx it. Iowa State is on top of Tennessee State 53-26. I have that bet of largest margin of victory in pocket, 45.5 under for the whole tournament. I think Iowa State's going to be my loser today on that. I think they're going to win by 46 plus.
Yeah, I think the first score I saw was 27-5 or something.
Oh.
Something crazy.
They've been blasting them the entire time.
Yeah.
But this is without their best player, Joshua Jefferson, who went down. It was not pretty. On the left leg, the ankle, when he slipped on the court, coming down on the court from jumping up around the basket a little earlier in this game. That was actually pretty much right away. And he is doubtful to return in this game. And then you have Twitter doctors out there suggesting that based on the video, he's absolutely out for Sunday. Beyond that will depend on the x-ray. I'm not the doctor. I'm only the messenger on that. They could be dead wrong. Who knows? But that's what Twitter doctors are saying based on what the video looked like. And there's a 3 by Bama to cut it down to 4.
Both teams scored in the first minute of that game as well. So that ticket paid out. Tennessee State and Iowa State.
Yeah, Iowa State's up by 30. Check that, 29 right now. The in-play number is 37.5. I just have to hope to God that Otzelberger calls off the dogs late when it's going to be potentially like around a 40-point lead in that game. Arizona against they were up by 40 today in the game against Long Island. So they're getting close, but 45.5 is tough to do, and I hope Iowa State isn't the fly in the ointment here.
Bad landing spot for the books. Total open 152.5, closed 147.5, and fell 150. So a lot of people won on that game, as that game died late with Arizona. And condolences to you. Another vicious beat. Controversial win for Kentucky. I feel sick for Santa Clara. I know you had Santa Clara in the points, Santa Clara money line, Santa Clara plus 4, the under. They haven't won a game since Steve Nash in 1996. And that's a game that's going to haunt them. When are they going to get in the tournament again? I mean, again, this is only the second time in 14 years that league got 3 bids.
Sure.
And they were excellent, and they hit the 3 with 2.4 seconds. Too much jubilation. Kids are celebrating. Owe makes a great shot, but to get that look with 2.4 seconds, and he kisses it in off the glass, and then they run him out in overtime. Oh, I feel terrible for the Broncos. Damn, that was brutal.
Again, you never want the dog in overtime, is the old saying when it comes to betting college basketball or any sport, basically. And that was a coin flip game. Santa Clara led for a lot of it. And I think that they were covering the number almost 100% of the game until overtime when Kentucky extended it there. How do you have back-to-back three-point attempts blocked? I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Yeah.
Back-to-back from the perimeter, shots were blocked, ending their possessions.
Yeah, the leak out, too. It's a 2-point game, and they just give them the leak out for the dunk and puts it on 4. And then they just stops, free throws, and that was it.
Horrific.
So here's the controversy.
Yeah, right.
They hit the 3 with 2.4 seconds. Herb Sendek is calling timeout repeatedly, and then he has to run to the official. And I can't believe he misses him because he turns back, but then he turns and he keeps running and runs away from Sendek, and he won't give him the timeout. And then they hit the half-court shot, and then they lose in overtime. He was trying to set the defense. They're going to win the game there in that situation. He was ready to go. Here's Sendek, not happy about it, said, I called timeout.
Well, I unequivocally called timeout, but they didn't grant it. I mean, I think the video evidence is clear, and anybody's able to pull it up. So, which, is a likely response after Allen hits the 3 that the coach would be calling timeout to set the defense, which I tried to do, and I was successful in doing, other than it wasn't acknowledged or recognized. And so that's what happened.
Well, how does that happen?
I don't know.
Is it so loud in there from the shot that was made with 2.4 to go that the ref right there couldn't possibly hear him?
I understand. I don't know how he doesn't see him, though.
That's exactly right.
That's hearing right. You're not going to hear him. But then he turns his back, and he's running the other direction towards the Kentucky basket. I mean, that's, he knows. He's been around the sport long enough. But
sure. He's a good coach.
Yeah, but then the other thing is, you can't let him just walk up after 2 dribbles and get that look. You got to foul. That's the other, right away. I mean, there's chaos going on. But as Brian Mahoney tweeted, who covers the NBA for the Associated Press, you foul in the backcourt, you win the game.
You do.
That's it.
Game's over.
And there was too much celebration, and the kids were jumping around, but Herb knows. And that's why Herb was trying to get everything organized and call timeout, and then he makes it, and all hell breaks loose, and they lose, and their season's over, and they thought they were going to win. They played a fantastic game.
Oh, they were very good.
To not win a game since 96, and you're that close, and the controversy, and I don't think he traveled. Some people think he traveled as well. But incredible performance. He scores 35, but I'm sick for the Broncos.
And, oh, by the way, on the heels of the West Coast Conference, now that conference is vanishing after this year, had a really bad day yesterday. St. Mary's filed this one away. Randy Bennett is a really good regular season coach. He is god-awful with the results in the tournament. He's an absolute fade.
That was bad.
And Gonzaga, life and death.
Well. Yeah, they struggled.
Man.
Yeah.
So they were there for the pride of the West Coast Conference. Now, a couple things. I honestly think that if he's granted the timeout and Kentucky still hits the shot, people are going to say, why the hell did you call the timeout? Now, that's neither here nor there.
I imagine he fouls, though.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
We're in 2026. How do players not know to foul in that spot?
I can't keep watching this. I can't keep doing it. How many times is this going to happen before it just becomes universal?
Right. Like you just know.
I don't understand
instinct.
it. Yeah.
I know back in my brain, we're up 3 now. I got to foul.
Yeah. It's like we saw the light with the sacrifice bunt. We moved on. You decrease your chances of scoring. You double your chances of winning if you foul there. And it's the kids lost it.
That's the thing. Like, every coach gets blamed in this spot for when they don't foul. It needs to be like universally taught at, I don't know what age. Let's call it like 12 years old. It's in your brain as a basketball player for the rest of your life that you have to foul up 3. Yeah. And they never even attempted to.
I know.
They
had chances, I know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, they had a good chance to foul right there.
It was like Yale and Penn Sunday.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
You can't get a better situation. Less than 5 seconds, up 3, and the star player has the ball, and he's pinned near the sideline. He's going to get a tough look.
Right.
But he makes it, but it's just foul the guy.
Oh, he's never going to get over that. He's trying to call timeout over and over and over again, and they won't give him the timeout. This show is brought to you by Profit X, and right now you can win a free trip worth up to $10,000 during March Madness. With King of March, use the code VSINMM.
He's right about the video, too. He's running right toward him. He calls it almost immediately after the 3, and he's running after the official, and he can't get it.
Can we retroactively give him the timeout and have the two teams hit the court and have the final 2.4 played out again?
Do over.
And the winner will get Kentucky. They'll get Iowa State, again, leading right now at halftime 55-29. Now Kentucky is looking at the Cyclones here potentially with no Jefferson on the team in that game. So that could be a massive break. Bama leads by 2 at halftime. They are
big run.
Live right now, laying 8.5. Do you expect them to open it up here in the second half?
Yeah, it seems there's a big. They're beating them up on the glass. It seems they're getting easy stuff down low and putbacks and issues on the glass for Hofstra. So the 10-point lead. Bye. All
right, let's attack this Miami and Tennessee game coming up next. Because this is going to be super fun, man. We're going to be on the air the entire time that Miami, everybody's darling here, is on against Tennessee. They're big dogs here, but you can attack this game several different ways. First to 10, 15, 20. Will a basket be scored in the first 21.5 seconds? More on that. And Paul has a stat in this game that's 33-0. Find out what that is next.
Hey, let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. It's March, which means the madness is officially upon us, and the folks at VSiN have gone crazy with this one. For $29.99, you get unlimited access to VSiN Pro through May 1st. I'm talking picks throughout the tournament, public betting data for every single game, sharp tools, projections, articles, and more, which means every day you wait is an opportunity missed. Just click the link in the description to get started. It's March, baby. Now back to the show.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Greg Hoops Peterson on the show coming up in 15 minutes. His best bets for tonight, Saturday as well. I'll give you credit for pointing this out yesterday with the night session of games. There was we had potential here to be, really vile and nasty, and that's the way it played out. The Gonzaga game was the only one whatsoever with any drama.
Tonight's worse.
You're right. Missouri-Miami might be awesome. But we have a chance where the games are just
it better be.
Awful.
I know. Cal Baptist, Kansas has potential, but again, that opened 9.5 at DraftKings, and now it's 14. I mean, school could be out here. Florida's going to win by 40. Kansas plays Cal Baptist, fingers crossed, and UConn could just obliterate Furman. And see if Hurley can cover 15 in a row now. He's got to win by 20, 21 plus. But I don't know how you put these on a Friday night with the second day of the dance.
Right. So
that's stunning.
Do you want to approach any of these games with the we're talking about huge dogs tonight to win the first to 10. Prairie View A&M is 7-1 against Florida. They look good the other night, man.
Well, not tonight.
No, not tonight.
No, this is a big step up here. So they were under 500 before the conference tournament started.
No.
So to win it as an 8 seed and 40-1 cashes, now they've covered 12 in a row. So again, great story. They were 5-22 2 years ago, and you could say even a better story because they had a losing record going into the tournament. But this total was open 149. It got as high as 155.5. I just think Florida comes in, steps on them, and it's a mercy. And this thing's out of control early on. I will go to bat.
7-1, that was tantalizing.
No, I think you're looking at Cal Baptist, though.
Okay.
Daniels is so good. 23 a game. Great player. Carried them in the WAC tournament. He was awesome in the finals. It's late. I know he struggled with his shot early on. Lucky to be here down 6 with 2:20 left. But I'm expecting Cal Baptist to hang in this one. This would be a fun story if they can hang. And who knows if Kansas just comes out, disrespects them board, the Peterson circus that's going on all the time. You know, I just think maybe they could catch them not ready to play, and they come out early and 10-4, something like that, Cal Baptist early.
You know, the Westgate offers first to 5, 10, 15, and 20.
Yeah, that's good.
What's
5? First to 5. Boy, that is something.
First to 5.
Move over.
Prairie View is plus 350.
First to 5?
That is...
That's completely random.
I might have to bet that.
Yeah, a kid comes down and win the tap, hit a 3. I mean, it's...
Furman is plus 210 first to 5. Queens plus 230. God, I'm going to do all these, aren't I? That's going to be the way it goes today.
This one's going to be bad.
Baptist is plus 165 first to 5.
Furman was the 6th seed and then got hot and won the conference tournament. 5th smallest team in the tourney.
Right.
Could be brutal down low.
And I'll give you this too. Teams from the Big East, double-digit favorites going back to 2007, 45-3 straight up, 33-15 ATS, 69%.
Yeah. There
is that. Let me find some of these first to 10 numbers. Prairie View here, or at Westgate, I should say, plus 625. Westgate has 7-1. Circa has 7-1. Furman plus 290 first to 10. Queens plus 350. Cal Baptist 2-1. Oh my God, they got Prairie View first to 15's 10-1. That's one of the biggest numbers I've ever seen. First to 20, Prairie View's 14-1.
Yeah.
Come on.
Probably worth it after what you saw with Howard and Siena.
Let's put in a prayer here tonight, huh?
Yeah.
Furman's 5-1 first to 20. Give me the Cal Baptist. Queens 6-1. Baptist plus 290 first to 20.
That total went from 136.5 to 141.5. I like that too. I think that could be a high-scoring game. Hope that delivers. They're better. I don't want to sit here and stare into blowouts, right?
Well,
not like Missouri and Miami is the greatest thing ever.
Well, like we said, there might not be a lot of overall drama in terms of dogs maybe winning a bunch of these games, although dogs were damn good yesterday. Some of the small dogs were very good, in fact. You know, point spread drama could also be a big thing, and I think we're going to have some of that the way it looks in the Alabama-Hofstra game, as Bama leads by 13 right now with 2:12 to play. Are we going to get drama at all? I think, Utah State-Nova, the Utah State trailing by 2 at halftime could. No drama in the Iowa State game. They scored 108 points, Paul.
Wow. How about your level of concern with St. John's? That is a big number. You're going against a team that's 364 in pace. Now, they haven't made the tournament in 10 years, but they're on a roll, and they'll grind you. And for St. John's to be 10.5, and I better not see the same thing that happened last year. I mean, they got off to a bad start against Nebraska-Omaha. They covered in that game, but then they were expected to make a deep run as a 2 seed, and he lost to Calipari. He's 18-1 straight up in the first round as a 6 seed or better. Patino.
Okay, so
Morehead State was the loss.
When he was in Louisville.
Yep. St. John's hasn't made the Sweet 16 since 1999. Excellent performance against UConn yet again. I love that when he put Darling at the point and how the team has played. But this just feels like it's almost outrageous when you look at how this game could be played in a rock fight in a total of 130. You know, it went up a couple points, but 131.5. And then you got to win by 11 points.
Sure. Mackinnon wrote about this today at vsin.com, like stat profiles that kind of fit similar teams. He had St. John's kind of in the same range as Wisconsin. They both happen to be a 5 seed. And overall, 5 seeds, 40.9% ATS in the tournament. When they're favored by 6+ points, 34.5% ATS, that's it. And the Missouri Valley, when they're a dog against power conference teams in the tournament, 63+% ATS. Wisconsin burned yesterday, and as he pointed out, it's the same profile that just got the Badgers, and now it applies to St. John's. My comeback would be, are you concerned at all that Northern Iowa has been one of the most popular dogs of the entire tournament? Much like Akron, very popular, could not cover. Much like Hofstra, now down by 16. There's still time for them to cover, but you know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Here's the thing that I also don't like for St. John's. They just won their conference tournament. I'm not a big fan of teams that do that. I would rather usually be on teams that got bounced, had a bad beat, had a bad performance, like Florida. I mean, that's part of, I think, Florida's laying 35.5 tonight. It's one of the biggest spreads in the history of the tournament.
Yeah. And it's also what John Murray says at the Westgate. Like, you want these dogs. You got to, a lot of these you're seeing they're hanging and then they're getting run out in the second half. Or, right? So you want to take the first half, too, and first half money line. Because those have hit. Wright State did it. Siena did it.
Boy,
they've been in these games. So the argument there is maybe if you just take the first half and don't worry about you getting blown, because Hofstra played an excellent first half and now it's out of control. So maybe that's a good way to attack it as well with Northern Iowa. It figures to be a low-scoring game.
Another example, by the way, and you brought this up earlier on when it was actually a 10-point lead for Hofstra. If you have access to those books and you want to get involved on the dog, I would bet there over like any other book. If they get to a 10-point lead, that's it. Your ticket wins.
Yes.
Much like Siena yesterday.
Oh, it's incredible.
Hofstra got out to a 10-point lead, so if you bet them on the money line at some of those books, it's already a winner.
I got to ask Richie about that.
You're
paying out both ways.
Yeah. That number closed 11.5. They're down by. They've been in the game the entire time. They've been the right side for 30. Now they're down by 18 with 46 seconds.
Yep.
A 28-point flip in this game. Oh, now you got. Be careful here, guys. Alabama's out there going like this. They're giving the throat slash.
Oh, God.
Isn't that a fine or a penalty in the NFL?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're having a lot of fun in the second half. No, they're going to play the everybody doubted us role.
Waiting for a Kentucky-Iowa State number. What do you think?
Well, it should have been up half an hour ago.
You're telling me it's not going to look good for Jefferson?
I'm no doctor.
Probably wait on that. All right.
Yeah.
We've got to wait another half on Tennessee, Virginia, and we should have a number here shortly, though, on Bama and Texas Tech. Hofstra got great looks. I will say that.
Yep.
So.
If Bama gives Texas Tech great looks, Texas Tech is too good of a three-point shooting team to do that too.
I agree. Follow the Money brought to you by Profit X. March Madness got a lot more interesting. Profit X running the King of March, where you can win free trips worth up to $10,000 just by betting the tournament. Win 10 pregame spreads or totals across the 67 games and hit your volume goal. Hit 1,000 in volume, you're entered for the 5K trip. Hit 10,000, you're entered for the 10K trip. Flights, hotels, wherever you want to go, Profit X covers it. It's simple. Download the app, use code VSINMM, and start winning King of March only on Profit X.
All right, we still have plenty to get to in the last 90-plus minutes of this show. We'll get to the numbers for Saturday or Sunday as they pop out. We're also going to get to the games tomorrow. A little bit later on, Richie Baccellieri on the show an hour from right now. Greg Peterson up next. He is the host of the Coast to Coast podcast right here at VSiN. Daily write-ups on the website as well that are phenomenal with great breakdowns. Still plenty of games to go tonight. We'll find out his best bets coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Hardcore college basketball, day 2 of the madness, live in Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino is your spot. And we begin the segment by going out to the Progressive guest line. Greg Hoops Peterson joins the show. Daily write-ups at the website, vsin.com, throughout the entire year. Also the host of the Coast to Coast Hoops podcast. G-Unit, good to talk to you, my man. This is yesterday only. Favorites 10-6 straight up. However, dogs ATS like 11-5. All this talk and like the line movement towards favorites in a lot of these games. Have you noticed like a bigger difference this year between the little guy and the big guy compared to previous years, or is it pretty much the same?
I think that there is a little bit of a bigger gap in terms of some of these like 11-6 matchups or 12-5s, even though we did see High Point get the job done. But what I think is so interesting is, to your point, the spreads have never been bigger. Like, you just take a look at the average spread in terms of how big of an underdog the 16 seed is, how big of an underdog the 15 seed is. These are some of the largest that we've ever seen, and I do think that it's gone a little bit too far. Now, Howard obviously welters down the stretch in the second half against Michigan, but they gave them a first half. You saw what Siena was able to do against Duke. They held right in there. Now we're seeing Tennessee State. They just get absolutely clobbered by Iowa State. You're always going to have some of those 15, 14 seeds that don't flat out show up, but even Wright State today. They held in there against Virginia. I think that people are making a little bit too much out of the differential between the big guys and the little guys, and we're finding it against the spread. Not necessarily straight up yet, but against the spread, the underdogs have been cashing.
Was this the worst possible matchup for Miami, Ohio?
Oh, absolutely. Like this Tennessee team, they rebound over 44% of their missed shots as an offensive rebound. Out of 365 teams, that is number one in the country. Miami of Ohio hovers right around about 325th. Like, even if they would have faced a 5 seed like Texas Tech, a 5 seed like Wisconsin, I felt like Miami of Ohio would have been able to hold in there. Heck, any of the other 6 seeds, had they drawn BYU instead of Texas playing them, I thought that they would have been able to hold in this game. This is one where, even as much as I've loved Miami of Ohio, I had to set them as an 11-point underdog in this game. And I have been finding bigger differentials on Miami of Ohio than pretty much anyone else. So I felt like this was a really bad matchup for them. They were down last. I checked 15+ at the half. So right now, Tennessee taking it to them down low.
Okay. Plenty of games tipping off yet tonight. Coming up at 6:50 Eastern time, we get Clemson and Iowa. I've heard good cases for both sides here. Who do you like?
I did take Clemson on the money line. With Clemson, they do a nice job in terms of playing that slow style that Iowa loves so much. These are two teams in the bottom 50 in the country in terms of total possessions per game. And where the bread is buttered for Iowa is generating turnovers. They're a top 15 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. But here's what Clemson does well. They protect the ball. They are 33rd in the country in terms of fewest turnovers on a per possession basis. Now, do keep in mind with Clemson, they are dealing with a little bit of an injury. Carter Welling is right now dealing with a little bit of an ailment. He's out of this game, but even with that, Clemson is still as a whole is greater than the sum of its parts team. It's not like they're based around one or two guys. They still have 7 healthy players that give you between 5.5 and 12 points per game. They do it as a collective. For this Iowa team, they're also very vulnerable down low. They're outside the top 260 in opponents' 2-point shooting percentage. So I think that Clemson is going to be able to knife the ball down low. They've got a guy in RJ Godfrey who I think is going to be the best rebounder in this game. So I did take Clemson here on the short line on the money line.
All right. Why do you like Central Florida against UCLA?
I think that they hold in there. I did not advance them on my bracket, but I did take the points with Central Florida, mainly because this is a UCLA team that has just not traveled very well. They went 17-1 straight up at home. I believe they went 6-10 and road in neutral court games. And we've heard the bickering for the last few years from Mick Cronin talking about, I have to see the Statue of Liberty and everything like that. It's just really shown itself on the court that UCLA is not the same team away from home. Additionally, for UCLA, they're not the strongest team down low. They are well outside the top 175 in terms of opponents' 2-point shooting percentage. Central Florida's a top 75 team in terms of offensive rebound percentage. They're a well-put-together team with two guys that actually come in from UW-Milwaukee. Themis Folks is their main facilitator with about 6.5 assists per game. JaMychal Stillwell has been their top rebounder with about 8 rebounds per game. So they've got a little bit more chemistry as well. And keep in mind with UCLA, Donovan Dent, Taylor Bildu, those guys that were injured during the Big Ten tournament, they should be able to play, but you have to have question marks as to whether or not they're going to be 100%. Maybe they're only 75%. Maybe they're only 80%. That takes away a little bit from UCLA and the fact that they have been so good around the perimeter, being a top 23-point shooting team. So I did take the points here with Central Florida at 6.
Okay. Here I'm all ears for this one. This is good. So DraftKings opens Kansas 9.5. They take it down. They put up 11.5. It's now 14.5. You think Baptist can win the game? Why are you so strong on Cal Baptist? And I think you wrote today you make the game 8.
Yep, I made the game 8. I did not take the money line personally, but I do think that Cal Baptist does a great job of holding in there. And I've been debating taking a shot here at plus 775 myself because Cal Baptist is so good on the glass. A top 15 team in the country in terms of percentage of their missed shots that result in an offensive rebound. And Kansas is a good defense. They're 35th in the country in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis. Cal Baptist has one fatal flaw. They turn the ball over. They're outside the top 270 in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. There's one thing Kansas doesn't do on defense. They are outside the top 330 in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. So a Cal Baptist team that gives away the ball, they're not going to be under duress in this game. And a lot of people are going to think Darren Peterson is the top scorer in this game. And certainly Darren Peterson is going to be the best professional that's playing in this game. The top scorer is actually Dominic Daniels. Dominic Daniels, about 22.8 points per game. He was ice cold in that WAC title game for about 36 or so minutes. heats up, hits those big threes against Utah Valley that sent Cal Baptist to the NCAA tournament. He's a difference maker. Got guys like Brady Henjai, who are 7 feet tall down low. Like Kansas, when you take a look at a game that is involving a 4 versus a 13, you'd think that the 4 seed has so much more size, so much more physicality. Cal Baptist has 7-footers on the roster. They're going to be able to match up size-wise with Kansas. So I think that they hold in there. I was able to get there with the points. I'm right now debating sprinkling a little bit on the money line myself, but certainly in on the 14-year with Cal Baptist.
Follow the Money is brought to you by Profit X, and right now their King of March promotion is giving bettors a shot at free trips worth up to $10,000. Use the promo code VSINMM to get started with Profit X. So with that game and the next game here, Prairie View catching 35.5 against Florida, Paulie and I were talking about maybe betting on both those teams for the first to 5 points, first to 10 points. I mean, they're absolutely massive numbers to begin the game. A&M is 7-1 first 10, plus 350 first 5. I don't know if that's something that you look at, but you are considering the 35.5 here with the big dog in that game against the Gators, yeah?
I certainly am looking at the points. Now, I'm not necessarily a first to 5, first to 10 guy, but I don't necessarily dislike it because with Florida, the fatal flaw with this team is their backcourt. They're outside the top 310 in terms of their three-point shooting percentage. They're a team that's about country average in terms of turning the ball over, and Prairie View does one thing really well. They're a top 35 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per-possession basis. And when you look at a team like Florida with the size, with the ability to be able to grab boards, as they're number 1 in terms of total rebound percentage, number 2 in terms of offensive rebound percentage, that takes more of a toll towards the middle of the game, not necessarily towards the beginning. And if Prairie View can generate 1 or 2 steals, be able to come up with a fast break layup or 2, that right there is your first to 5, first to 10. So that might not be the world's worst look. And I do think that Florida wins this game. Like, I'm not going to call for the 16 seed here or the sprinkle on the money line on a plus 35 half-point underdog, but 35.5 is absolutely ridiculous for a Prairie View team that I do think that they're going to do a nice job holding in there on the outside. And they've got a guy in Dante Horn who in SWAC conference play was averaging over 24 points per game. They actually had their top scorer, Terrion Joseph, go down with an injury. He had to step up, become that top scorer in SWAC play. Now they've been able to get Joseph out there a little bit more, though he's been very much hobbled in the games that he's been playing down the stretch. But 35.5 for me is just a little bit too much. I do like the over because Prairie View is also a top 30 team in terms of total possessions per game. Both teams are going to look to run.
Yeah, this point spread specifically reminds me of the 90s. I mean, that 1999 Duke team that never won at all, and they had like 10 guys that were pros, I think. They were laying 40 plus in that first round game. They didn't cover. It was like 44.5 or whatever. But always like in the 90s, those Kentucky teams, they were always like 32, 33, 34 point favorites. And now fast forward to today, get the same thing there. A couple of other games on the board tonight. Can you make the case here for the dog with Furman catching 20 plus against UConn?
I absolutely can, because with Furman, they are 4th in the country in terms of 2-point shooting percentage away from home, and I've just gathered this as well. UConn has covered less than 40% of their games against the spread this year. It just feels like they're a point or two overvalued. Now, do I think that Furman is going to win this game or anything like that? No, I set my number more in that neighborhood of 17, 18, so it's just like what I've been seeing all season long. With UConn, they should be able to get the job done, and they should be able to win this game by double figures, but I feel like they're just a point or two overvalued. With UConn, they've been a solid defensive team, 15th in the country in terms of points allowed on a per-possession basis, but a little bit touch and go with their three-point shooting. Furman, top 75 team in terms of opponents' three-point shooting percentage away from home. They've got a guy in Alex Wilkins as a freshman who's been able to lead the team in scoring and has been doing much better, so I do think that with Furman, they hold in there, so it took the 20-plus.
Hang tight, Hoops.
Yep, you got 2 plays on the same game, late game with Miami and Missouri coming up. Juice Reel links all your sportsbook accounts, imports your bets, and gives you automatic tracking and analytics. It's completely free. In the app, everyone's bet history is synced directly from the books. No lying about profits. You're as good as your record says you are. Juice Reel ranks every bettor, and you can see exactly what the best bettors in the community have their money on. If you're the sharp, you get paid when others follow your picks and win. Download Juice Reel free today. REEL. Get it now. Juice Reel.
Greg Hoops Peterson is the host of the Coast to Coast Hoops podcast right here at VSiN, does daily write-ups at vsin.com as well. We'll get his thoughts on those 2 bets in the late game and talk about Saturday's games with him next here on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Wow, we're getting a damn good game right now between Utah State and Villanova. Both teams are going on mini to decent runs, and right now Utah State, they fell behind by 10. And they have now tied it back up. It's 54 apiece, and the Aggies, after a timeout here by Nova, they are a 1.5-point favorite now at FanDuel, and on the money line, it's minus 128. Back and forth we go. Uppercut, jab. I'm on. I have Utah State last man standing. You're rooting for them like crazy here. What do you have? Minus 1.5 money line?
Mountain West Pride.
Mountain West Pride. Okay, yeah.
Worse than an 8 seed, 7-41 straight up all time, 21% ATS. It's incredible.
I'd like to see those numbers bump up a little bit here. Yeah. We continue here talking to Greg Hoops Peterson, VSiN.com, with the write-ups every single day during the Madness, regular season, the whole thing. He's on the Progressive guest line. So the late game tonight, it's a kind of a stinker of, although you're expecting Baptist to give Kansas a great game, the schedule a little dicey with all those big point spreads. Miami and Missouri might have to save the night. Who do you like here?
I do like Miami in this spot. I just haven't loved what Missouri's been able to do with the little things. They're outside the top 295 in terms of free throw shooting percentage. They're outside the top 240 in terms of ball security. And for Missouri, they've actually become a much better rebounding team. For those that know Dennis Gates and his time over at Missouri, typically this has been one of the lesser rebounding teams in the country. They've gotten up to 53rd in the country in terms of rebound percentage. Problem is now you're running into Miami's number 10 in the country. I think that Malik Reneau is the best player in this game. No disrespect to Mark Mitchell, who averages about 18 points per game for Missouri, but Reneau just does a bit of everything. 18.5 points, 7.5 boards, pops it from three. It's a Miami team that has been solid in terms of generating turnovers. It's not going to call them amazing, but they're a top 100 team with that regard. I think that they're going to be able to put Missouri under duress. And for Missouri, the three-point shooting has just been all over the place this year. If you look ever since Dennis Gates has gotten there, the offense has not been the same when they've been away from him. Now, I do like the over, as Miami does grab those second and third chances. Miami is a team that's going to do a nice job in terms of pounding the ball down low, top 30 team with their 2-point shooting percentage, and I do think that this gets close enough for late fouls, but I was willing to lay with Miami. Personally grabbed a 1.5, like it all the more at 1, and I do like that over.
If you bet the under on the sum of all seeds Final Four, would you be concerned after what you saw from Duke and Michigan down the stretch? Or is it too early to panic?
Not really too concerned about Michigan, mainly because of the draw. Had they gotten a worse draw, I'd be very concerned about Michigan. And I wasn't necessarily feeling great about them coming into the NCAA tournament. But Texas Tech and Alabama, I know that they had great final 5 or 6 minutes of their games. But Akron was right there with about 8-9 minutes remaining in that game. And then for Hofstra, they were right there. That final score is not indicative of how close that game was. That just exploded. And thank goodness for me, we were able to get the over. So I was able to salvage something from that game. But I do think that for Michigan, they are going to be able to get through because St. Louis has not been in the world's greatest form. I do think that St. Louis can cover that number of 12.5. I made my number 11, but not concerned there. The big thing for Duke is they just need to find out what they've got with all the injuries right now because Patrick Ngangba, I think that when he returns, it'll probably be Sweet 16 and beyond. If you get anything out of Caleb Foster, that's a bonus. And I was relying upon that Siena game for them to be able to get up 20 and then, you know what, you mix around the rotations a little bit. You try to see what you got. If you're in a life or death, foul situation, something like that, you try a little bit of a different rotation. They weren't able to do any of that yesterday because they got the game that they were not expecting out of Siena. So I'm a little bit concerned about Duke. And additionally, if Florida is able to get to the Sweet 16 and they play Vanderbilt completely housed them last week. I think that's a terrible matchup for Florida. So I would be a little bit concerned if I took the under on the seeds prop that you were mentioning.
Okay, so making the case for TCU, and you made the case for St. Louis as well. How about Texas catching 6.5 against Gonzaga, who struggled against Kennesaw?
Oh, they did struggle, but I actually think that this is a good matchup for Gonzaga. I'm going to be willing to lay the 6.5. I like the over because Texas, if you looked at their defense coming into the NCAA tournament, there's 365 Division I teams. In terms of points allowed on a per possession basis when they leave home, they entered this tournament 346. With allowing opponents away from them to shoot 40.5% from three, 361st. I feel like for Gonzaga, they actually got a rough matchup with Kennesaw. I really like Kennesaw getting the points in that game last night, and they were able to very much hang in there because they do a nice job on glass. They generate second and third chances, and to the credit of Texas, guys like Dalen Swain and company are going to be able to hold their own down low, but I do feel like for Gonzaga, they're going to be able to get better looks from three than they've been finding throughout much of the season. Now, Tremont Mark is a guy that's able to put points up on the board, so I look at that total of 147.5, and it's just too low for me. Even though Gonzaga is number 1 in the country in points allowed on a per possession basis. They do allow about 18 points more per 100 possessions when they leave home rather than at home. So they are a little bit inflated by their home court advantage playing out there in the WCC. So I like the over, but I actually think that this is a good matchup for Gonzaga. I was willing to lay it with them.
All right. And Louisville, what Louisville team shows up? The one that was up 23 or the one that almost lost to South Florida, catching 4.5 against Sparty?
Yep, and if I had to bet this number right now, I would rather lay it with Michigan State rather than take it. Now, I made my number 4.5. Right now, I'm seeing market wide, mostly 4.5, so I'm personally waiting on a little bit of line movement here, but I have a lot of concern after what I saw to Louisville. Like, Louisville won that game by 4, and if you took 4.5 at South Florida, you covered in a game where South Florida went 5 of 33 from 3, and Louisville went 13 out of 25. Like, if you like me and you thought that South Florida was going to advance in your bracket, you should actually feel very good about your handicap. There are just some of these games in the NCAA tournament that don't break your way. Like, I'm talking to anyone out there that had Santa Clara today. Like, that would be me, by the way. But you get some craziness that happens. Louisville, they were able to survive and advance, but now they go up against a Michigan State team that's not going to give them any sort of second chances whatsoever. Number 1 in the country, defensive rebound percentage away from home, and Michigan State, all season long, they perform their best away from home. They shoot over 39% from three-point range away from home, 32.7% from three-point range at home. The Mikal Brown injury is still lingering for Louisville. They haven't been the same team without him. And in that game against South Florida, 22 turnovers. So they were lucky that they were hitting their threes because they were very sloppy in that game. Right now, I'm seeing a total of 151. I like the unders. I think that the Michigan State defense comes to play, and I'm hoping this gets down to a 4 because that becomes my buy point on Michigan State.
All right, I tweeted out your story as well at vsin.com, at Mitch Moss Radio, for the games that you have, and the audience is tuning in right now to go and check out your bets for tonight. You're going to write them up for Saturday as well. So I think, for the beyond this, like the Sweet 16, you probably haven't gotten this far, but I want to throw these at you anyway. A Duke St. John Sweet 16 game in your brain, where do you think that number would be?
Man, it's going to depend a little bit upon what we see out of St. John's because I still want to see them function a little bit more through their guard, but I probably would be setting Duke as right around about a 5 or so point favorite, give or take a little bit. I do think that Duke is going to be able to get by that game. I know that was a chic upset pick for a lot of people, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be off-put by Duke and what they saw in the first round. Keep in mind, there are a lot of teams that struggle in the first round that then go on to run. Like, I still remember many years ago when Virginia went from losing as a 1 seed against a 16 seed, they were actually trailing in the first half of that 1-16 matchup against Gardner-Webb. They go on to win the title. I remember when UConn was the 7th seed and they won the whole thing. They were down like 6 points with a minute remaining to St. John's in the 7-10 matchup. Right. So, just because a team struggles in their first game doesn't mean that they're completely dead, and it doesn't mean that they're going to flame out. Now, is it what you want to see? No, but I still would feel good about Duke being able to advance. My initial number would probably be 5, again, subject to a little bit of change.
Very good. You can follow Greg on X as well, at @GUnit_81. Again, the write-ups every day, vsin.com, and the podcast is called the Coast to Coast Hoops Podcast here at vsin. Thanks, man. Great info as always. Good luck with the bets tonight. Enjoy the games.
Always fun, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
And he joined us here on the Progressive guest line. Right now, Villanova leads Utah State. Damn good game. 58-57, under 12 media timeout to go. And Utah State's favored in the game. Villanova right now at FanDuel anyway, they're even money.
You sitting down?
I hope so.
The lady just won both showcases on The Price is Right. Get The Price is Right up top right here.
Was that today's episode?
Good for her.
Today they replay.
You gotta get in there, yeah. Right? Sure.
Remember as a kid, be sick from school,
Bob
watch
Barker.
The Price is Right.
Yeah.
Right, and you would hope that somebody would get within. They had to win theirs, and then they had to be within like 100 of the other person or something like that.
Yeah. Bob Barker, he was something.
No, they had to be within 100 of theirs, and they would win both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it the best of all time?
What do you mean?
Best game show?
Oh, best game show of all time?
Yeah. Or your favorite?
I love Press Your Luck.
Oh, come on.
No whammies. Yeah. You ever Greed on Fox was good with Chuck Woolery.
Remember Greed?
I liked it. Love Connection, you never know. Back in 2 and 2.
Be back in 2 and 2, yeah.
Yeah, Chuck was good.
Card Shark, I like.
Yeah.
Screaming at the people, you got a jack, you want to go under or over? Let me go over. Okay.
Follow the money brought to you by Profit X. They're making March Madness about more than just your bracket. It's King of March. They're free trips worth up to $10,000 on the line. Here's all you have to do. Win 10 pregame spreads or totals across the tourney's 67 games and hit your volume goal. Flights, hotels, your destination, all covered. Rack up another 10 wins and earn another entry. Sign up with code VSINMM and compete to become the King of March. Only on ProfitX.
We'll expand on the Saturday slate coming up with numbers. Sunday numbers are opening as well. Boy, there's one that I really like here early on. Find out which game that is next here on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.